Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone for another episode of the Author Spotlight. Hey, it's your host with the most, your main man, Darren M. Palmer. Excited to be with you where I get the honor and the privilege to go behind the scenes with best-selling authors from around the globe. Today, we got my girl on, the good doctor herself. Some call her Lala. We call her Dr. Snodgrass, LaTrice Snodgrass. Welcome to the show, young lady. Tell everybody hello.
Hello, thank you for having me. It is a pleasure.
Awesome. Now, we're glad to have you here. Now, for those who watch the show, you know, we'll have information in the show notes. But if you don't mind, good doctor, share with the people a little bit about you. And then next thing I would like for you to do is share the name of your book and why did you write this as your first book?
All right. So as you said, I'm Dr. LaTrice Snodgrass. After writing my book, and we'll get into that, I founded my consulting firm, which is Equity House Consulting Firm. I'm the president and founder of that, where I am doing all things equity work, just trying to move the delivery of services, information, resources, and care from transactional to transformational. I work in healthcare. That's my 9-to-5 gig. I've recently accepted a position with Akron Children's Hospital. I'm really excited about that. Working with the babies and being in the peds arena is something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. And the position that I'll be doing there is helping create equity in raising the standard of care. So I'm really excited to be able to do what I love as my profession, and then also have my consulting firm on the side to help as well. So life is good.
Hey, it's good. And just hearing you share that, that's what I want to bring up to people right now who listen to this. Some of you got tired. I know it's not proper English, but you hear the Southern drawl like Tim McGraw. Some of you got tired just hearing Dr. Snodgrass just share some of the things that you do. Like, wait a minute, did she say that my 9-to-5? I was tired just hearing the first part of it. But you know, when it goes back to purpose. So just her operate in a purpose leads to passion, which fuels her. Even though she's putting the work in, the work she does fuels her, impacting lives in a positive way, and it leads to profit. Her profiting the lives of others, her profiting too as well. So for those, I want to take that nugget before we go any further of how can you do that in your own life? How can you find a way to do things that fuel you, that you're passionate about, that will lead to a profit too as well. So with that being said, Dr. Snodgrass, if you don't mind, share the name of the book and why did you write this book as your first book?
Okay, so my book is Justice for the Health of It, hashtag health justice. And the reason I wrote this book is because I've spent the last 25 plus years in healthcare, and I've seen people falling through the cracks. Right. I've seen people not getting the care that they need, not getting things, not being equitable, people not understanding that individuals coming into the four walls of the hospital have a struggle in life beyond that space, right? So we have people that I like to call that are caught in this vicious spider web of socioeconomic disadvantages, systemic racism. You know, we just got to call a spade. Bias rears its head regardless of intent. And I've watched people struggling and suffering. And I think with the dawn of COVID, everyone has seen how Black and brown people have been disproportionately impacted. Oprah Winfrey just did a documentary called The Color of Care. So I watched these things happen throughout my career. And like you said, my passion and what fuels me is just, I feel like if you're not a part of the solution, then you're a part of the problem. So this book has been in my spirit. I've been in the wilderness with trying to birth this for a very, very, very long time, because I just feel like someone needs it. You know, rather you're an advocate, rather you're that community member, that healthcare professional, we need to hear what's in this book so that we can be transformational instead of transactional.
I love it. And you know, when I think about this, Dr. Snodgrass, I think for me, I want those who are listening. Not only do I want you to get the book yourself, but I want those of you who are leaders who listen to this show. What about that nonprofit that you are part of? What about your civic organization? What about those of you who, your local church or whatnot, or if you need to reach out to a pastor or a leader or whoever it may be? This is your responsibility to say, hey, I heard the information first. What can I do? You didn't have to create the content. Dr. Snodgrass has already done that. Let's get that book. Let's not be selfish. Let's be selfless. Let's get that book into the hand. Let's get Dr. Snodgrass to see if you can work with her or her company to be able to see whether she can be zoomed in, whether there's some traveling that can happen. Let's get this message out to more people, because I think when you do this, you don't know how many lives that you will actually save, or how many people that can have a burden lifted off of them, because all you had to do is just direct them. You didn't have to know it all. You didn't have to go get a degree to get this done. Just direct. So I want to just show people tonight too as well, when you're listening to this, find a way to get this information into somebody's hand. Don't just, even if you're in great health or you're in good shape, don't just think about yourself and like, oh, that's good, but that's somebody else's responsibility. No, no, no. You're the one who's listening. So use your sphere of influence to impact the life of another. And, you know, Dr. Snodgrass, do you agree with that, what I just brought up?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and you and I talked a lot about doors opening. I was afforded the opportunity because of this book to do a TEDx talk. And a part of that talk, I talk about something called the zip code effect. So even though you may think it doesn't affect you, it does, because this is our world. This is our community. So if we're not aware of our blind spots and not aware of what questions to ask, for the grace of God, tomorrow, it could be us with a biased healthcare professional, right? Dealing with a life-changing matter. And we don't know what questions to ask. We don't know how to interact because you have that power gradient. You know, I talk about some of the systemic things, because once my god brother said this, Dr. Eric Johnson, he said, when you're informed by a sense of history, you tend to view life differently. So we have a lot of historical things that have put us where we're at, right? So we need to call attention to these things. And, you know, somebody told me your book was controversial. I said, well, thank you. You know, that's a compliment, because any conversation worth having is going to be a little bit controversial, and that's all right. Let's just create a safe space to have that conversation, because we living in a world where these things are reality. So let's talk about it and let's get a network. So if something comes up that you're not comfortable with, well, I can call Darren and I can ask Darren, how do I navigate this conversation? So yeah, it takes a village. So you may think you're not impacted, but you are. That residual effect is affecting everybody, regardless of and this stuff it crosses over socioeconomic barriers. It doesn't matter. You have women who are PhDs for the CDC losing their babies, infant mortality, right? So it affects all of us, Darren. So you know me, you get me started, and then
you know it is. I told you, don't let it fool you. Don't let the sweet taste fool you. The good doctor comes with a wealth of knowledge and information to be able to pour into you. And once again, did y'all see the P for passion? Did you see that alley hoop? I just threw that alley hoop real quick or whatnot. Watch the dunk it. But I want to bring this up too, because on that subject matter, you know, Dr. Snodgrass, this is something that she does for real. Like, this isn't somebody, let me go ahead and just put it on the table when we talk about controversy. This isn't just an angry Black woman. So let me go ahead and take that off the table. This is somebody who's an asset to society instead of a menace to society. And like she just brought up, it doesn't matter where you are on the socioeconomic ladder. It doesn't matter what your ethnic background. This is affecting the human race, okay? So of course, there hasn't been enough representation when it comes to the Black and brown communities. So of course, to create a balance somewhat and doing her part, she was able to focus on that and address those issues too, which, you know, is disproportionate of folks being affected in those type of matters. But I want those who are listening to this, no matter what background you come from, or as we say down south, no matter what side of the tracks you come from, we got to understand that this is a human race issue. And so when you get that and understand that this is coming from an actual vetted expert and a source, not somebody who just watched Fox or CNN and coming up with their opinion and waving their hand in your face. This is not this type of party. This is somebody who really does this for a living. So I want to go back to this, Dr. Snodgrass, because it's one thing to say, you know what, I should write a book about this. Or somebody tell you, girl, you should write a book about this because you know you're an expert at this. But what made you actually take the step to go forward and write the book?
Wanting to be that change that I want to see. So naturally, I'm gifted with the ability to connect with everybody. I do not meet a stranger. So, it was placed on my heart, and I'm by God, right? I can't, that's just who I am. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but that you connect. I've given you this gift where you can deliver heavy information, heavy content in a way that people can take it, right? So we have to be careful. You mentioned angry Black woman, right? We have to be careful that when we're talking to people about things, it has to be in a smoothly that they can get down, right? And so I'm blessed to be able to do that. So I felt like there's this message that needs to be delivered. And right now I'm the vessel that can deliver. And I have had people just from LinkedIn that don't even know me reach out to me and say, do you mind if I talk to you about something? I had a gentleman reach out to me. He said, I feel guilty that I'm a white man and with privilege. And so we had a really good conversation about it. I don't know that man from Adam or Eve, but he called me because he says, I feel like you won't judge and I can understand, right? So I have that gift. So I wanted to get this down on paper so that we can start having conversation, because what we don't talk about, we can't change. And we have to give people grace. We all have blind spots. Yes, I sit before you, an African-American woman, but I have blind spots because I'm blessed, right? I have the advantage to be able to go outside of my house and go for a walk. I have sidewalks, I have green space. Everybody doesn't have that, So when we're talking to people about exercise and health and wellness, just go outside and walk. Everybody can't do that. That's a blind spot, right? We all have privilege, and we have to talk about it in a way where we're not offensive or offending others. We're not offended or offensive, and have these conversations because people are struggling. So, we just have to talk about it, Darren. So that's why I felt like I have got to write this book, because this will be a vessel to be able to begin having these conversations.
Well, good doctor, I tell you, I love what you shared there. And I cannot move forward with this interview until I just address what you brought up. Okay. Are you choosing offense, or are you choosing the opportunity to really hear somebody?
That's right.
And I want those who are listening to this to get that. We're living in a world today where everybody, well, I ain't gonna put everybody, well, a lot of people, you can't have good dialogue because people are being so, either they offended or they being offensive. Let me say that again. Either they offended, no matter what somebody say to them, because everything shouldn't be offense to you. Like if your doctor tell you, hey, you're gonna have to put this hot sauce down because your blood pressure cannot take that. I'm just using this as an example. I'm not, just keep looking straight ahead. Nobody won't know I'm talking about you. Just blink 2 times, just keep looking forward. If you know that your sugar or whatnot is not where it needs to be, and you steady 1 slice, 2 slices, 3 slices of that pound cake, every time you walk through the kitchen, you grabbing another slice. Now that is not somebody they're not bullying you. Your position is not bullying you. They're not being offensive to you. It's not about your color or your gender or your sexual orientation. This is something like they're just giving you their expert opinion, like, hey, I want to keep your vitals and your numbers right and make sure you're in good health. If you keep doing this and abusing your body, it's some ramifications that's going to happen from that might not be in your favor that you want. That's not good for you. It's not good for your family, friends, and loved ones who love and care about you. It's not good for your community by you passing away early or whatnot. So I love what Dr. Snodgrass is sharing because of her approach of being able to share something that could be bitter, but she can allow for it to have some sweetness to it. So by us communicating together and being on one accord, now I want to just throw this in here. Dr. Snodgrass shared with us of the importance. It's not communication unless we can understand and communicate with one another. Me screaming and shouting at somebody is not communication. If a person can't digest or receive what I shared, and I can receive what they shared, that's when communication is taking place. Us screaming and hollering and got our own opinion, and if you convince a person against their will, they still have the same opinion still. So when we understand that, what Dr. Snodgrass is teaching us, now you can have real dialogue. Now, like the gentleman who reached out to her, now that was effective change, because that gentleman is processing what she was sharing, because she's relatable. He know she wasn't going to judge him. So don't get mad at somebody because you just say they should already know this. Like Dr. Snodgrass brought up, we could take it for granted. Oh, I got a green area. Oh, I can walk. Okay, well, how many people don't have that? So we all have these areas. So don't just point to one group of one type of people. When we know we're all in this together, we can bring about the change that we want to bring about. And, and Dr. Snodgrass, looking at your busy schedule, I know some people still up there thinking to themselves, now I heard him say all of that, and that's all good, say the world and all that. But I don't see how in the world, with all that's on her plate, how in the world did she write this? I'm having enough trying to write a paragraph. How did she write this? So could you share with us, were you writing in the morning? Did you just dictate it and have it recorded and transcribed? What was your formula for creating content for your book?
So I'm a keynote speaker, and I do talks and speeches and things. And when I walk, I talk, right? And then I come home and I type it out. So that's what I did for the book. Like when I would exercise, when I'm walking, whenever I had thoughts, I talked them, because I found that when I just tried to sit down and write or sit down and type, I would get blocked. It felt so forced. So I would walk and talk. If a thought came up, I pull out my phone and I record it. And then at the end of the day, or if I, every other day or whatever, I would transcribe what I wrote and what I spoke. And I didn't try to edit it. I would type it exactly how I spoke it, right? And then later, I would go back and move things around, get them in the right chapter, get them placed. But it was a matter of me just making it comfortable, because it was too forced when I tried to sit down and say, okay, I'm gonna write. It just didn't work for me. So I transcribed, I talked, and then typed it out. There were times where I would have a thought and, I would write things down, but I didn't make it too formal. I had stuff in this notebook, in that notebook, and OneNote on my computer. Stuff was just, I'm embarrassed to say it, but stuff was just everywhere. So I ended up, having to bring it all together, but I just got my thoughts out of my brain and onto a recorder. You have to start somewhere, just start somewhere. Journaling. I journal. So I went back through some of my journals to see, what types of things have I said over the years because I've experienced it at work, or I experienced it myself. I was very, very vulnerable. I tell real stories about myself, my upbringing. I'm just a little brown girl from the projects. Was on Medicaid, and I talk about that in the book. So I think that to have a good book, you have to make yourself vulnerable, be very transparent, and just be open to really, really share authentically. And it took time. It took me probably a couple years, which I should be really ashamed of. And then when I met you, the editing process, I was like, oh, shoot. I got a team now, baby.
But I'm glad, see, the authenticity is working right now. That's why we have this show. And when you bring that up, Dr. Snodgrass, I think about that. That's true. Wherever you are, take that note from Dr. Snodgrass of the importance of do what's meant for you. Some of you haven't completed the book or created the content because you got in your mind that you need to sit at a desk. You need to be in Havana, Cuba, looking out of the window, seeing the ocean or whatnot, and thinking that's when you're going to write, and you're going to be going to a cabin in the weekend, your lake house, to get away and get an Airbnb. You got to start where you are and do what's meant for you. Dr. Snodgrass brought up a very good point, especially for those who are keynote speakers or you do training and whatnot. You have a gift. don't go against the grain of your gift. If you communicate very well, some people got in their mind, Dr. Snodgrass, this limited belief that they're ensnared with, that I'm not an author unless I wrote it all down. The devil is a lie. That doesn't have anything to do with the book is the book. If you are communicating, record yourself, because actually when you verbalize, you create more content than you would do if you was writing or typing it up. Now, if you are a writer, then write, then just go with that. So it's not one way to do it, but I just want you to go with what you do naturally. Use what's your forte to benefit you, not hurt you. So do what helps you and not hurt you. It'll be a benefit for you. And I love what you brought up too with the team component. Let's dive into that. What was the benefit of having a team, Dr. Snodgrass?
Listen. And this is the truth. And I'm not just saying this. Having a team was the difference between getting it done and just having thoughts on a piece of paper. The editing process is brutal. And there was so much benefit in having different people on your team view it, edit, and then us having that back and forth conversation. You know, the little things that you think about, because we all have our habits. So like a go-to word. So not understanding how many times I use one word, right? And working with your team for synonyms that still convey the same message. Those are things that I didn't think about. Just those tips and reworking things, just having someone to bounce things off of and to get it done. I really honestly, I believe in divine intervention. And I truly believe that self-published in 30 days was divine intervention, because I probably wouldn't have gotten it done. I would have had a nice manuscript somewhere on a computer that never made it to fruition, because that publication part is no joke. You know, people self-publish, you use Lulu or whoever they call, y'all better leave Lulu alone and come on over to self-publish in 30 days, because that is not intuitive. It is not easy. And horror story, I know someone who did that and it just was, the pages was upside. It was a mess. So a team is vital. Like, I think that you have to invest in yourself. So if you have come to the table to say, this is a message that I need to get out, this is worthy of other people hearing about, invest in yourself and get with self-publish in 30 days to get you to done. It was life-changing. And the team is phenomenal. And I know everybody knows this because I'm on your podcast, but I just need to put this out here. You have a phenomenal team. The book design, the book cover, and understanding how to get it on the various platforms, you know, with Amazon and the other place. It's a process that, and you don't think about those. You don't know what you don't know, and you don't think about those things. So having that team was vital. I truly 100% believe my book wouldn't be done. I would have given up.
See, you know, it was so much, and I appreciate all that you shared in your kind words. But you right about that, Dr. Snodgrass, and that's the thing that I want those who are listening to this to understand. I know it, Dr. Snodgrass make it look easy. You know, my girl, she come with, I call it, she got the drip campaign. She stay fresh. She stay ready to go. She's articulate. She's brilliant. She's a wonderful person inside and out. You see that by the work that she's doing, by sowing into the lives of people. But also, she has a work ethic. So I don't want y'all just to see the, oh, look pretty face and all that. Oh, she ain't. No, sister works. She put in work on lunch breaks, after work, in between work, weekends. This young lady, she works. And so I want to bring that up too as well, because you can be working, but it's good to have the right team around you. And by looking at this, Dr. Snodgrass is a woman of excellence. So this has been a part of her life. So why would she change and switch it up when it comes to something monumental, when it comes to a book? So for some of you who are listening out there, if you are a person who has operated in excellence in every area of your life thus far in your life, why would you take a shortcut with something like a book? And so what Dr. Snodgrass is bringing up is she knows people, I know people. They did the book trying to take shortcuts. They let Miss Johnson, who are retired English 8th grade teacher, who teach Sunday school, edit it. They let little Ricky down the street, who did the local rap album, do the cover. And then they just try to upload it because you got people who telling you to upload. But this is the thing. Now, if you're the type of person where you just find what uploading, you don't care about the pages being upside down. You don't care about if it's lining up, if the chapter 2 is before chapter 4. I mean, chapter 4 is before chapter 2. And if you don't worry about that, then that's fine. But what you forfeit is the other opportunities that come your way, because people are judging you with people who've done it like Dr. Snodgrass, who have operated their books with excellence. So when it comes to a speaking engagement, when it comes to seeing who's going to be a board member, when it comes to a TV interview, people are going to look at what you invested in you. If you didn't invest in you, why should they invest in you? So you can forfeit opportunities because they were unknown. You would just want to check the box and say that you're an author, but you didn't know that it could be detrimental. And now all of a sudden, something that was supposed to be an asset for you became a liability, because now people won't ever tell you, they won't even call you, but there will be opportunities that you missed because they would have looked at how you did your book and like, oh my God, no, we can't do that. Because people, you got to think about it, an event planner or somebody who's an advisor who bring people in, or that HR person, their job is on the line. If they superiors reach out and say, okay, well, let me see the book. Oh, this is who you brought in. So now it's a reflection of them. Yep. So it's nothing against you, but they're not going to lose their job because you wanted to cut corners and then wonder why you're not getting opportunities. So Dr. Snodgrass, can you talk to that about you doing it that way and being professional and operating with excellence? How you glad you did that instead of forfeiting opportunities? Now hindsight is 20/20 vision, since you're a published author now.
Absolutely. You know, and you talk to me a lot about B2B, book to business, right? So cutting corners is, you're not going to be able to go book to business, right? So, you know, if you have a book like mine that's heavy in content, I did a lot of research. My hope is that this book can become parts of curriculum and trainings. You can't cut corners. I had a pillar of my community that I really, really value his opinion, Bishop Joy Johnson. He's the senior pastor at the House of the Lord. And Bishop Joy literally reads 30, 40 books a month. The man just is, I sent him, I said, Bishop, I want you to read my book. Give me your honest feedback. And it just was so humbling. And he blessed off on it, right? You know, he was like, it's professionally done. It's what, you know, he blessed off on it. The professionalism of it. Like the content for him wasn't new, but that professionalism. So I think that it's really, really important, you know, and I understand, I'm not trying to count people's wallets, you know, everybody is at a different stage, but forego a Starbucks every now and then, forego and save your money. And then when you have it, invest in doing your book the right way. It's going to make a world of a difference, especially if you want to go book to business. So I started my consulting firm. My book was the catapult for that. So it needed to be right. It's professional. It's professionally done. It has a professional appearance. You don't see it's no typos in it. It's, you know, everything is formatted nicely. That goes a long way. So invest in yourself. And just if it takes you, instead of being able to get your book out in 6 months, it's going to take you a year because you need to save your coins, then do that. Invest in yourself. We don't do that enough as people, period. Investing in ourselves. So it was definitely worth every penny, you know. And you're worth it. Your work is worth it. Your reputation is worth it. Where you're trying to go, it's worth it to invest in yourself.
That's it. And you know what? I know that was a breath of fresh air for the bishop, because do you know, and I know you understand where I'm going with this, because I know personally that he was probably thinking to himself, wow, I'm glad this was done with excellence. Yeah. Because do you know how many pastors and bishops and leaders around the world, they love their congregation or they love the people that they're in communion with, but it's a hot mess, some of these books that these people are getting. And they looking at it like, I mean, why you, I mean, I'm reading this, you giving it to me, sister, you giving it to me, brother, but you didn't put your best foot forward on this. Like, are you even listening to the teaching? You got to do it unto the Lord. This is not unto the Lord right here, you know, so this is not excellence. So I know I'm just sharing that for people too as well, because by you halfway doing your project, you put other people in a bad situation that they shouldn't be in. Like say for instance, Dr. Snodgrass, I respect her. If I send something her way or I got an opportunity for her, because of my respect for her, I'm not going to send anything to her. It's going to have to be with excellence. It's going to have to be right because that's how she operates, and I care about her that way. So I want to make sure that it's a representation of our relationship together. So you got to think about that too as well when you're dealing with people, just like what Dr. Snodgrass shared about communicating far as getting an understanding with person. If you value friendships, if you value relationships with people, then you need to make sure that you put them in an environment. So if it's a sorrow some of Dr. Snodgrass, it's not because you are a sorrow. There she goes. She represents. It's not because you are a sorrow that she's doing, but they're able to go in knowing, okay, this is professional.
That's right.
So I don't have to be like, sis, well, they ain't doing nothing right now. Now you got your sorrow line because she don't want to hurt your feeling that it's a hot mess. And so that's the thing too that I want y'all to understand, the emotional intelligence to realize like, hey, I don't need to put our friendship on the line or put, well, why don't you tell so-and-so about my book? No, if you are doing it right, other people will be enthusiastic about sharing your material because you invested in yourself. And, you know, Dr. Snodgrass, I want to hear this from you too as well. When you're doing your TED Talk and you're doing your business, just looking back on it, what are your thoughts from where you started at to now? Was it more than what you expected? Was it exactly what you expected? Kind of share a little bit of the emotional roller coaster from you having your book launch to having people give you feedback, whether it's family members. Let's just hear a few things behind the scenes that most people don't get to hear or see, whether it's somebody emailing you, texting you, or you know, maybe a tear or two, tear shed or whatnot, or some rejoicing about what you've been able to accomplish.
It is far more than I expected. I am humbled and honored. I get emails and I get phone calls. People are reaching out to me. You know, I also talk about mental wellness and grief. And I've had some opportunities to talk with individuals about grief and mental health and being interviewed on some local television platforms. And it's almost surreal. It's like, is that Trace? Trace, is that you? Is that the little naughty-headed girl from the projects? Like God blessing you to bless. So being blessed to be a blessing to others. It is just, I never imagined, you know, sometimes I'll get emails that people have just found my website and they've emailed me, you know, can you come speak? And, you know, this is something, the money mindset, I'm still working on that because this is my passion. So, you know, people are reaching out and, you know, I don't have a budget, you know, nonprofits, and I get it, you know, we don't have a budget. And I'm like, yep, I'll come talk, you know, because I just feel like humbled that you even thought about me. And I feel like God gonna bless me on the back end, right? So being able, you know, people just reaching out to me and just sitting here hearing you say, Dr. Snodgrass, it would usually I say, I'm just Trees. And people have been chin checking me about that. No, you doctor, you need to, you know, so it's so surreal. And it's like, but I'm still just Trees. I'm just Trees. But it's humbling and it's rewarding. And you know, it's a really good feeling when you wake up and you say, I would do this for free. If I didn't have bills to pay and I didn't have to eat and buy this $6 a gallon gas, I would do this for free. You know what I'm saying? So that's just a wonderful, and I don't think I realized that a couple years ago before I started this journey. So it's just, it feels good to just be able to drop knowledge and just help put people up on game that's going to make their lives, that's going to create generational change. So yeah.
That's it. But I do got a bone to pick with her now. Dr. Snodgrass, now you got to watch her because she played me. Now Dr. Snodgrass was telling me all this stuff when it came to getting getting her stuff done for a book or whatnot. And then we like, okay, well, I don't know. She's like, I don't do photos, Darren. I don't do all that. I'm like, oh, okay, well, we have clients like that, so I was like, okay, well, hey, it's not a problem. Just want to do some photos, just let's send it. Then we looked up there and we was like, oh my goodness, like, man, Dr. Snodgrass like a model. Then she done played us. We think we're gonna have to do some extra hard work when it came to getting the stuff lined up. I said, if this woman don't sit down somewhere, that's exactly what I said in the meeting. They were like, oh, like, I said, y'all, I'm sorry, I gotta get back professional. I'm thinking about the regular conversation I had with. I said, she just had me thinking, I'm just talking to her on the phone. I don't know no better. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I'm saying, but just do the best you can. Then I look at the photo shoot. Well, when I get a chance, y'all go see the TED Talk. My sister was, man, dressed, knocking it out the park, the whole nine. But that's just some behind the scenes stuff. But with us creating the content for the book, that was amazing to me. And then I'm going to tell you, it was a moment for me just seeing you preparing and doing that TED Talk. That was important to me. And I was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? I was just thinking to myself, like, look at this. This is what excites me. So I'm just sharing for other people. You see that Dr. Snodgrass has a passion to see other people win. So I don't know, for those out there, you might need to do a heart check, but really you'll go further, even with the nonprofits that she's serving. The doors will open because it's no telling who's in that room, who's listening, who's going to be somewhere who has a budget that's going to be able to refer, who got the book at that event, who's able to tell somebody who has the budget. So I'm sharing this with you all because I think we're getting a messed up mindset with some people when they think about doing business. Some of you can't grow in business because, don't get me wrong, I know you need to get your coins. I know what gas is. I understand that. But you have to understand that you need to sow and then you'll grow. You have to sow your way to success. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think that somebody is beating and getting over on them. There will be a time, but you got to pay your dues. You got to invest. You got to get out there amongst the people. And then what you do is you collect intellectual property, whether it's you speak it in front of a crowd. Now you put it on your website. So now by the time somebody else come to you, they can see that you've been doing this, and they automatically will assume that you got paid for those events. But see, if you never do the events and you don't have any body of work or no testimonials or anything like that, now all of a sudden your value go down. So just sow your way to success. And that's what Dr. Snodgrass is doing. So just know that for those out there who young, who are entrepreneurs, or even if you're seasoned, you've been furloughed, you're looking at doing something else, you got to get out of that corporate mindset that you can have, oh, they're getting over on me, I wouldn't do that. No, you're learning. You're grabbing this, even though you might be talented, you just started doing this 6 months ago. You just started doing this a year or two ago. So you're still in your infancy stages when it comes to this, And Dr. Snodgrass, can you speak to that of you stepping out and get into new lanes? Because if I'm not badly mistaken, you hadn't did a TED Talk before, have you? But you did it. Can you talk about stepping outside of what you normally do? Because we know you got the 9 to 5, but you done stepped out into an author, to a speaker, to a business owner. So what's the mindset with you being able to take calculated risks to go into new areas?
Yeah, being strategic and smart about things. So for example, when my TEDx talk, I repurpose chapters from my book. When I do speaking engagements, I repurpose content from my book, right? So you don't have to start at ground zero on everything. Your book will be such a benefit to you if my website is repurposed from my book. Take that information that you've already created and turn it into a talk. If someone calls you to do something, yep, I can do it. Get out your book and repurpose your information, right? Think about life experiences. So I think what I would say for me, I had to get out of my own way. And that was hard at first because I overthink things. So when people would start reaching out, when they reach out to me about the TED, I'm like, I'm not trying to write no TEDx and you can't have no note cards up there and I was in my way. Someone just reached out to me to do a training and I'm like, dang, like what they're wanting me to do, it's in my scope, but I haven't done it. And at first I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna let that go. Then I was like, come on, Trish, you tripping. You about to let these coins go that you could. So get out your own way, have confidence and faith in yourself, and think about things that you've done in the past and repurpose it. You don't always have to recreate the wheel, you know, just think about things you've done.
Copy genes, repurpose content, the RPC. And you know what? I had a mentor to share this with me, Dr. Snodgrass. He said, do it once, do it right, get paid the rest of your life. And he was referencing to the book. And that's the key to it, that you keep on repurposing. Oh, well, you need this? Okay. Well, we can set it up, but I can copy and paste it from here. Here's my notes. Here's the breakdown. See, by you doing that labor of love, it's the gift that keeps on giving. So if it's a quick talk, somebody need a workshop, if they need a 2-day retreat or whatever it may be, all you got to do is extend that same talk about that one point for that first part. The next day, talk about that next part instead of trying to put them up. See, it's all relative. But I want to make sure that we touch on what you brought up. Get out of your own way. So many of us are forfeiting the opportunity that God has blessed us with because it's not coming the way we think it should come. It's not looking the way we think it should look. So, or we uncomfortable, or it's something new, but basically everything that you've ever done has been new at one time. So keep the process going of it being new, because that's how you get onto that new level that you're trying to go to. But you want to go to a new level, but you're not willing to do something new, and your thinking isn't right. So I love what you shared there. And I don't know if y'all know this or not. Some of y'all might need to get the Cash App, get the information, but Dr. Snodgrass has just been giving y'all some good consulting. So whoever invested in themselves to listen to this today, whatnot, I mean, you have been blessed, like professionally, religiously, whatever you want to call it, relationally, whatever you want to call it, because it's some information here that if you apply these gems that Dr. Snodgrass is talking, and you can be intelligent, you can have all the stuff, but if you don't know how to think right, the residue of your past experiences can hinder the new level and the new territory that you're supposed to take for the kingdom. So I just want you all to keep that in mind. But I want to, before we get out of here though, I got to ask you, are you a part of a sorority or anything?
The Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Ooh.
I was just asking for the record. I was just asking for the record. I didn't know. I said, let me just put it out there for the record or whatnot. So it wouldn't have nothing to do with the colors and everything that you had on there with it. So okay then. Just a slight flex and whatnot. Shout out to all the Delta sisters out there across the globe. So we're glad that you represent that. And to me, before we close this out, Dr. Snodgrass, I love this because you brought up about that little brown girl. And to me, you chose to make an impact by doing. You're not just pointing fingers, you are solution oriented. And, with me having children myself, 2 girls and 2 boys, I'm grateful that I got people like you in my network that, with my teenage girls, I got somebody that I'm able to point to. Like I got somebody that I have access to, that they can learn from, that they can grow from. Say, okay, this is how this happened. This is how you navigate this too as well. But the thing was, it didn't have to just come. I'm not knocking this or nothing, but the impact didn't have to come from Oprah Winfrey.
Right.
It came from somebody that's a little girl from the projects who made it out. Yeah. See, and I want others to learn from this, like with you. You didn't downplay yourself, like, because I'm not this person or this name, and they started from somewhere. They had to do the same thing. And I want people who are listening to this to understand that you matter too as well. For your community, to your spirit influence, you matter. So you doing something, being proactive, not just sitting on the sideline pointing fingers, but doing what you can do, not allowing the big problems of this world to keep you where now all of a sudden you don't do anything but complain. So that's something that I'm excited about with what you've been able to accomplish thus far, because you still going, you ain't stopping at all. But I love that people, you are relatable. Somebody can say, oh, wow, she came from the project. I can be a doctor. I can be an author. You know what? I don't have to just see with somebody on TV, like, hey, my auntie, my cousin, or hey, my family member, the girl I went to high school, I went to college with her. See, now I work with her. So now it helps other people realize I can lose those 10 pounds. I can eat better. I can mend this relationship with my sister that we've had since the last family reunion. So I want people to understand, when you step out into your purpose and when you're passionate what you're doing, the profitability of it, it extends more than just coins, even though that's great too as well. But you don't know. Some people will never tell Dr. Snodgrass, but she was the catalyst for them making a change, going back, getting that GED, going back and getting their master's, taking on a new trade. What do you think about that, Dr. Snodgrass?
Listen, you know I call you the bishop for a reason. You cannot make this up. I just had a young lady that was my executive assistant 3 years ago. She tagged me in something on Facebook. It said, the post was, who inspired you to go back to school? And she tagged me, and I haven't talked to her in years. It almost is tearing me up on the inside, because you know when you have really made it, when you making a change in other people's lives. It ain't even about me. And if someone is watching you, you pressing through is going, I'm telling you, I'm tearing up, I'm getting full. You're gonna make the difference. And that is the honest to God's truth. You know, that's why I am very transparent about my upbringing. And, you know, when I had my son and being on Medicaid and being in the system and being mistreated, you know, my bout with depression and anxiety, I talk about these things because it's going to save somebody else, right? You have to think life has to be bigger than you. It has to be bigger than you. And the little things that you do mean so much to somebody else. Because I can think about when I was younger, or, you know, when I was out here struggling, I still remember the ladies in community that I looked at and was like, oh man, she a boss. She moving, she doing this. I want to be like her. When, you know, so somebody is watching you. So yeah, you gotta give back. And you have to not be afraid to be transparent and vulnerable. You know, we have kids out here that are pleading suicide, that are dealing with anxiety, that are dealing with depression, you know, adults. So I feel like I don't feel like I'm much, and I don't feel like I'm no one, but someone else does. So if I now on your podcast say, I struggled with depression and anxiety, and I went and talked to a therapist, and it was a rough road, but I did it, that will encourage someone else. So I think that we have to share our life lessons and talk about things, and we gotta try to save each other. You know, this world is messed up. So if you know, if my struggle, if my story, and what people deem as success can help them be encouraged, I want to do that. You know, like send me, I'll go. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. And I think too, what you just brought up is that and it's a thin line with this, because you're not the type of person that feel like, okay, well, I'm not the conceited one. I'm not trying to make myself more than anybody. But also, if we're not careful, that part of that humbleness can also strangle us, because we'll forfeit the power of our testimony. And we'll forfeit that too, because some can look at it as bragging, but really it's just a testimony. So it's in the eye of the beholder. So, you know, it's really the reflection of that person and their thought process. And so we can hinder somebody by not sharing that testimony, because, you know, we're bragging on God. We're not bragging on ourselves or whatnot. We're talking about what he did through us. And so when you bring this up, I think it's important that we hear this part of it, because we're hearing you, the doctor, but when we hear about your son that's doing great and excelling, seeing where you are now, that gives somebody hope, because somebody can look at you right now and just looking at you, can't even tell you that you had a kid. Then you look at it, then you think like, well, this woman right here, how she, you know, how beautiful. You hear about her career. She's an author. She's got a business. She's doing tech. So somebody else who's looking at this might think that this is not even pertaining to them. Like this woman can't, what is this woman going to say? This woman got a perfect life. So by you breaking it down the way that you're, no, baby, I've dealt with depression. I went and seen a therapist. I went, got counseling, the help that I needed. I know what it is to struggle. I know what it is to look at somebody else. So now when I hear that, now all of a sudden, they can't hear you until they feel like that they know you. And that's the thing that a lot of us got to make sure we keep in mind. And what we're hearing from Dr. Snodgrass is other people don't take it for granted that somebody understands your struggle. And it doesn't mean that you got to tell your business to everybody. I'm not telling you to tell your business to everybody, but I'm just saying there's a time and place where you know it's a time for you to be authentic to yourself, allowing people to know the true you. And then that's going to help them, whether they tell you or not, to go to the next level of what they do. So, you know, Dr. Snodgrass, if you don't mind, how can people connect with you? How can they get the book? How can they learn about your business, your services? How can they book you? Give us all the above, young lady. Give us all the above.
All right. So it is Equity House Consulting Firm. So the website is www. Of course, theequityhouse.com. So that's my website. I'm on Instagram as equity.house and also at Hey Dr. LaTrice. Hey Dr. LaTrice. And you can also find me on Facebook, Hey Dr. LaTrice, TikTok. And my email is LaTrice at theequityhouse.com. And you can get the book on there. You can learn about the services that I provide. Learn about the work that Equity House does and how we could potentially partner. I have a signature program that I'm launching to partner with the schools and the high schools in my area around personal Doc Lala's closet, because you know, something else we don't think about, parents that are living 200% below the poverty line and are on, you know, welfare food stamps, lotion, soap, detergent, toothpaste are considered luxury items. So our kids are in school without deodorant, eczema, no lotion, those essential things that aren't luxury items, but things that they need. So accept donations for that, to partner with the schools to put those items into the schools. Again, my passion. But yeah, so you can learn all about me on my little website.
Awesome. That's good. Dr. Snodgrass, it's been a pleasure having you on today. I thank you for sharing and pouring into it. I don't know about everybody else, but she got me fired up. I'm ready for a challenge. I'm ready to go and knock down a wall or whatnot. She gets me pumped up every time I talk to her. But for those, but just I want you to talk to that person out there, Dr. Snodgrass, who they're thinking like, man, I mean, I can see why she wrote a book. I mean, you know, she's brilliant, she's beautiful, she's bold, but why should I write my book? I know I want to write it. Can you speak to that person who's straddling the fence when it comes to writing their book, with the self-image or the self-doubt that they have, whether they're worth putting the book out or if anybody would read it? Can you speak to that person on the power of their story?
I can. We all have a story. We all have a purpose. Unfortunately, some of us don't always find our purpose or know our purpose, but put you first. Believe in you, because if you don't believe in you, no one else is going to believe in you. So push past your fear. Think about what's truly holding you back. Look outside of yourself and realize that your story can help someone else. So get it on paper and get it out there. You are worthy, you are worth it, and the world you owe the world the opportunity to hear from you, because you have a message and it is powerful and it is impactful, and you need to put it out there because you can help someone else while helping yourself. So just step out on faith and just do it. Just do it. You can do it. I believe in you. I know you, and I believe in you. And if you need some motivation and some encouragement, reach out to me. We can talk.
Awesome. You heard it from Dr. Snodgrass. I'm like them folks bragging. That's my sister. Hey, you know how we roll. So she knocked it out the park, as I knew she would. But for those of you who tuned in today, remember that you all are the real MVPs. If you want change, be the change, be blessed. And remember, this is the year for your new book.